And here's the thing, Sammy, if nothing else, Matt Eberflus can take credit for being an innovator, much like, Bill Walsh, the father of the West Coast offense, Mike Shanahan giving, launching a coaching tree that includes his son Kyle, that includes Sean McVay, Zach Taylor, all these guys. One of the great things at some point, whether Matt Eberflus is fired, whether he goes on to coach defense at San Diego State or whatever he's going to do in his next job, the one thing that he has done for the NFL is made sure that every NFL coach uses all of their timeouts in the final minute of the game to make sure the final seconds of the game. I don't know if you caught that at the end of the Monday night game. Obviously, everybody was enthralled with the winter storm and the conditions and the Browns rally and Jameis Winston and all this stuff. But anybody who roots for the Chicago Bears, it was exceptionally painful in the fact that the Browns kept calling timeouts to set up their defense. Hey, let's make sure, Schwartz is sitting there making sure there's guys on the sideline, no quick outs, make sure Russell Wilson throws this to the end zone. There were like 3 guys batting the ball down, all sorts of things. And the only reason this is happening is because the Bears went out there and made absolute fools of themselves a couple of weeks ago in Washington. Now, every coach in the NFL is very dutiful. Jim Harbaugh was doing this at the end of the game against the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. Everybody's doing it now, a trend that's been started by Matt Eberflus. So congratulations. Your time here in Chicago has not been a total wash. And you know what, Sammy? Let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the Sick Podcast, the weekend edition. We'll be doing picks later on during the show, but I want to thank everybody for being here. And before we look forward to the games on Sunday, let's take a quick look back at what happened on Thursday night. And most specifically, I wanted to talk about Justin Fields, who was inserted into the game by Mike Tomlin. And I know a lot of people are sitting here and they were ready to laud Mike Tomlin for his creativeness of getting Justin Fields out there on the field. A lot of people have been asking me, why? They've been talking about Taysom Hill. And why don't they use Taysom Hill more? Or why do more teams not use players like Taysom Hill? And then the one that came to me, because I was on Rogers Sportsnet on Monday, and Ivanka was asking me this question, why are more teams not using a player like Taysom Hill? I'm like, well, the thing of it is, Taysom Hill comes into the league as a quarterback, and he's not good as a quarterback. But he's athletic, so they find a lot of different ways to use his skills and to use his athleticism because he has no value to them as a quarterback. For somebody like Justin Fields, he's still a pretty viable quarterback. He can still run an offense. If something were to happen to Russell Wilson down the stretch here as the Steelers are moving towards the playoffs, Justin Fields would be the starting quarterback. Taysom Hill is not going to be the starting quarterback. The Saints went with Spencer Rattler, and you saw how that worked out. That's how little they think of Taysom Hill as a quarterback. But if something happened to Russell Wilson, Justin Fields would end up being their quarterback. It's one of the reasons why you can't have him do that role completely. Now, it was fun to see him go out there and run a couple of plays, a couple of designed runs, trying to go out there and use his athleticism, especially in snowy conditions like that. And he popped a big run. So he was able to do that. They did have him throw the ball a couple of times too. And I know it seems counterintuitive in a snowstorm to have him throw deep balls, but at the same time, you got to put that out on the film. You got to let the teams know that, hey, we're not afraid to let Justin Fields throw the ball when he comes in. Because otherwise, if they don't have him throw the ball, then every time he comes in, people know like it's a run. It's going to be a designed run, but that's not going to be a big deal. I don't know. Actually, I'm on a monitor over here, and it's actually disconcerting. So if I get flummoxed, it's because my face has shown up on this big screen over here and everything like that. But Justin Fields is going to carve out a nice little role. I think we're going to start seeing more of this from the Pittsburgh Steelers because they do need to jumpstart this offense. Coming into that game, they had 19 straight offensive possessions without a touchdown. That's kind of a concern. So as much as we were apologizing to Mike Tomlin for making the right move and benching Justin Fields, it's like, now you got to try to be creative a little bit more. And so if you have any of one of those, if you still have Justin Fields trading cards like I do, then you're in good shape because it looks like he's going to have a big role on this team moving forward, and he's going to have a future in the league. And by the way, speaking of trading cards, at Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, we've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collections, collectibles. And in addition to their Chicago-focused items, they also offer a wide variety of other sports. And Sammy, I don't know how I've been able to do this. I have a box waiting for me from Windy City Sports Cards. I don't know if this is because of the break we had this week with Tyler Scott or a couple of weeks ago with Tyler Scott. I've held on to it, and I haven't opened it because I want to unbox it on a show. And I want to go. It's funny because I want to do it with you guys. I want to do it with Tyler, and I think we'll have Mike on. Won't let him spoil it, but I want to open that box. I'm actually very good about like not opening boxes like that. Like I can let that go. I have a box of golf balls from Strixon that I'm waiting to break out. Now, obviously, next week is going to be kind of a holiday for the kids, which means no drop off for me. That means I can now sneak out on the mornings before I go out there and do the NFL Fantasy Live stuff and go play a little golf and go get that out. Yeah, breaking out the clubs, going out there and swinging the sticks. I don't have drop off. I don't have pickup. I'm going to have a lot of cool things going on. But enough about that. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears for a moment. Now, before we get into the game on Sunday, you know what? Because I wanted to talk about some of the positives, but you know what? Why don't we shelve that for right now? We'll wait for that until we get to the Bears games. And so I want to talk about the games. And Sammy, let's do the sick picks.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips in Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Illinois and experience high betting limits, better moneyline splits, more in-game betting, and the best customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. And if you or someone you know has a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. And it's time to look at the picks. We were on the side. I actually had the Steelers winning on Thursday night. I'm not going to sit here and try to snow you in any sense of the imagination. I'm not going to try here and play revisionist history and be like, no, you're on the Browns. You should have listened to me. No. Thought the Steelers were going to win that one. And as a matter of fact, and I'm just picking the winners, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to sit here and you want to be like, hey, but these guys are, I don't know what any of that means. I pick winners. I project teams to win games. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. And by the way, I haven't gotten too much heat on the internet so far about some of my picks this week. The only thing that's been controversial is that I said that Bryce Young will end up with more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes this week, which, of course, the Chiefs fans get wildly upset. There is not a more fragile fan base in the NFL than the Chiefs, who an organization, a fan base that's won 2 consecutive Super Bowls. They've won 3, 4. I've lost count. How many times? They beat the Eagles? They lost to the 40. They lost to the Packers. Yeah, they won 2, 3, 4, whatever. They're going for a three-peat, and still their fans are outraged. And they're like, you're just trying to say stupid things. And I'm like, what I mean is Kareem Hunt's going to run for a ton of yards. I thought it would be Isaiah Pacheco, but he's ruled out for this weekend. The thing of it is that the Chiefs will probably get out to a comfortable lead. The Carolina Panthers will have to throw the ball to try to get back in the game. The Chiefs will play a lot of soft coverage because they don't care. And Bryce Young might end up with a lot of passing yards. 300 yards? Probably not. Nobody throws for 300 yards anymore. But I still think the Chiefs are going to win pretty comfortably. They are a double-digit road favorite. Right? It's in Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. That's wild to me. And it's not like the Chiefs have been blowing teams out. As a matter of fact, there are a few teams in the NFL who have won more. Well, it's dubious because they win all their games or most of their games. They've won 7 one-score games this year. They're not blowing anybody out. So even looking at that number, and I think it'll be closer than people give it credit for. I think Carolina will hang in there, and I think Carolina will make a late charge. And I like the way the Carolina is playing. They're kind of frisky, and it's kind of frustrating because we have their second pick in the NFL draft, and I wanted to do that thing like, we basically got a first-round pick, thinking it was going to be number 33. It's going to end up being like number 40. Our second-round pick might end up ahead of the Carolina Panthers this year, but I like the Chiefs in this one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be taking on the New York Giants. The New York Giants made a lot of noise over the weekend on Friday when they gave Daniel Jones his release. I'll say this about Daniel Jones. I know that people think he sucks or whatever, and that's fine. Say what you will about him, but he's a highly athletic quarterback. He's the kind of guy that you pick up if you're one of those teams making a run towards the Super Bowl. I'm thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if the Broncos might make sense for him. Somebody needs to bring him in. I think he should wait. I don't think he should sign. I wouldn't sign with the Dallas Cowboys. If I was him, I would just take my money and just hang out and wait to see if something happens with one of these teams that are making a run to the playoffs. I know the Rams make a lot of sense as well. But as a backup quarterback, Daniel Jones does a lot of things well. And he's, again, highly athletic. That if you get into a bind and you want to go out there and you need somebody who could go out there and kind of do what Justin Fields did on Thursday night and run around and make some plays, I really, truly believe that Daniel Jones could be a valuable commodity in the NFL. And as long as he wants to be an NFL quarterback, this is the kind of guy that could probably play into his 40s because he's not going to threaten the starting quarterback. He's not going to do – I don't expect him to be one of these reclamation projects. I don't think he's going to end up being like Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold, but I think he's going to be a damn good backup quarterback, sort of like Jameis Winston. And I think at some point we're going to look back and be like, you know what? Daniel Jones. Like he'll be backing up Lamar Jackson or something like that. Like, oh my God, I forgot he's still in the league. You know, like that kind of thing. I think he's got a pretty good career ahead of him. I'm going to take the Bucs though in this one. And by the way, anybody who wonders about which Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back to play in fantasy, this should be the Bucky Irving week. Not that Rachaad White's not a good play. And I think with 6 teams on a bye, there's going to be ample opportunity for him to go out there and do some stuff. But I love Bucky Irving this week. The Commanders, double-digit favorites against the Dallas Cowboys. The Chiefs, that one concerns me. Like that could be closer than I think. There is no way the Dallas Cowboys are going to be competitive with the Washington Commanders. And as a matter of fact, I look at Jaden Daniels, who has not run for a lot of yards over the last couple of weeks, to have like a monster game running the football. I think he's going to be like 180 passing yards, but he's going to run for like 90. He's going to have a monster game. And then he'll get back into that Rookie of the Year conversation, which I don't know if people understand. Like he's sort of fallen behind. I will tell you, Bo Nix, over the last month, has played better than Jaden Daniels. And you consider, listen, we're not making excuses. I don't care. Well, I'm just telling you. I don't want any excuses. I'm just telling you that as a quarterback, Bo Nix, statistically, aesthetically, has played better than Jaden Daniels over the last month. And there's no disputing that. You can't argue that. You can say, oh, he's hurt. Okay, fine. But I'm not dealing in those kind of situations. I'm talking about who's playing better. Bo Nix. And by the way, Brock Bowers, everybody's sort of ignoring what Brock Bowers is doing because he's a tight end. He's playing for the Raiders, and nobody's caring about him. He's outplaying both. Might be outplaying both those guys. Speaking of the Broncos and the Raiders, the Broncos are huge favorites. And I know, like, this is it. Like, now that everybody's firmly on the Bo Nix bandwagon, they're Bo-leavers and all that stuff. Excuse me. This is the trappiest trap game for the Denver Broncos. I'm picking the Broncos to win. Let's not get ridiculous. However, such a trap game for the Denver Broncos. Such a trap game for them. The Miami Dolphins, huge favorites this week over the New England Patriots. I like the Dolphins in that one. Lions, a touchdown favorite as well. I think they're going to beat the Indianapolis Colts. One thing to look out for, and I forget, who said this? Somebody brought this up. Probably Jeff Manns. Who was it? Okay, he was talking about how much man the Detroit Lions play defensively, which means Anthony Richardson could end up going out there and running for a ton of yards. Because if you look at what Justin Fields did when he was a starter against the Lions, Anthony Richardson can end up being that dude this week. Statistically, the Lions are going to win that game. Could the Lions be looking ahead to Thanksgiving? Yeah, maybe. I don't think Dan Campbell's a look ahead kind of guy. That's just me. I'm going to take the Titans over the Texans. Now people are having too much faith in the Texans. Stop it, Sammy. I'm taking the Titans. I want you to be happy. I want you. Well, I was going to say I don't want your Thanksgiving week to be marred, but you're Canadian, which means that your Thanksgiving's in the proper spot. We also like the Cardinals this week. I think the Cardinals will end up beating the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go with the excuse me. Gosh, I'm going to go. Okay, I'm not picking the Packers, but Brock Purdy is out. George Kittle might not play. Nick Bosa's not playing. And it's so funny. You know, I don't want to say who this is, but there was somebody who I work with who was like, you ever notice that that Ohio State players, you've never once heard like, hey, this Ohio State player shouldn't be playing in this game, but he is. Never happens. That's what somebody told me. Don't send me messages on Facebook and be like, I'm disappointed in you. I'm not making fun of it. Not making fun of it. I'm just saying what was told to me. People are saying the Packers should win that game, yeah? The Packers, I think, have won 5 out of the last 6 against the they've won 5 out of the last 6 against the during the regular season. The Packers own the 49ers during the regular season. Eagles, Rams. I'm going to go with the Eagles. And because I owe the Charger fans so much, I got to take the Ravens because the Charger fans are they're upset that I always pick against them. I said it would be a miracle if they win 7 games, and all the Charger fans are like, a miracle has happened. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. That roster sucks compared to NFL players. They're better than me. It's not like I'm playing, but still. That's not a great roster. But let's talk about the Chicago Bears, and I alluded to this a moment ago. Talking about now that I've had enough time to step back and take a look at some of the positives that were coming out of the Chicago Bears game. Now, obviously, the quick throws by Caleb Williams were impressive. The command of the offense, the energy from Thomas Brown. Nick Moriano made a pretty good point on CHGO that a lot of pre-snap motion was really good. I love what we saw offensively out of the Chicago Bears through the majority of that game. I think that the coaching has once again failed this team and has failed this quarterback. Caleb Williams has directed 2 late drives that should have delivered victories. And right now, and I will tell you this again, and I know that I'm repeating myself from before, if it's or nuts, we're candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. I get that. And I don't want to, and again, talking about this, like, you know, no excuses. It's just unfortunate because Caleb Williams, and I know fans of other quarterbacks they don't think this way. They don't understand ball all the time, but whatever. if the Bears were 6-4, which they should be, and Caleb had wins over the Commanders and the Packers, if those games had ended the way they should have statistically in the odds favor, we would probably be talking. Caleb Williams would be firmly in that conversation for Rookie of the Year. Would he be the Rookie of the Year? No, that's up for a conversation, because I'll be honest with you, Bo Nix is playing very well. And even when talking about Caleb Williams, I'd have to admit that. But still, I truly believe that Caleb Williams would be thought of much differently by a lot of the casuals, not by me. I think he's great. Whenever I see Tim Jenkins making his breakdowns and being like, hey, like, this is why you should still have faith in Caleb Williams, I'm like, I never lost faith in him. I might have lost faith in the coaches. I've never lost faith in Caleb Williams. So when I look at this game this week against the Minnesota Vikings, and I understand that Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, he does a great job of disrupting rookie quarterbacks. There are few, if any, teams in the NFL who blitz more than the Minnesota Vikings, and it is going to make things rough for Caleb Williams, a quarterback who's taken some sacks this year. He takes a lot of sacks, although I will point out at the end of last week, there was one sack through the majority of the game. They go out there for the final drive and somehow ends up being sacked twice. Here's my thing. I understand what Brian Flores brings to the NFL, but I love what I've been hearing out of Thomas Brown this week. This Bears team is going to be able to flush the loss against the Green Bay Packers. They're going to do a much better job getting past this than they did getting over the thing with the Washington Commanders. I look for the Bears to establish the run, and reminder, the Minnesota Vikings have done a great job of stopping the run this season. They've allowed 3 rushing touchdowns on the entirety of the year, and that's fine. But those numbers do not matter once you get into the game, and the Bears have been their most successful when they run the football, and I expect them to be patient running the ball. DeAndre Swift will go out there and get his. Caleb Williams is going to get rid of the ball quickly, and we are going to see Rome Odunze, along with DJ. DJ Moore is going to be fine. Rome Odunze is going to establish himself in this game as the premier rookie wide receiver of this draft class, because Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors are great players. Nobody has run away with this, putting numbers up. And, of course, if you want to expand this to pass catchers, you could include Brock Bowers. And, of course, I don't mean to ignore Brian Thomas Jr., who's been fantastic. But I still have faith that the Bears will be able to rally this week and beat the Minnesota Vikings. That is going to be my pick. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Have fun this weekend. The holidays are upon us. Enjoy the game on Sunday. We will see you after the game. So until that time, for Sammy, I'm Adam. Bear down and go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.